Hello, everyone. So, good morning and welcome to our new webinar about influencer marketing. Before sharing some best practices, a couple of practical information. So, first, the chat features are activated. So, please do use them to interact with us and to ask us your questions throughout the webinar. There will be a dedicated session at the very end, so a live Q&A. So, this will be the opportunity for us to answer all of them. The webinar second is recorded, so you will be receiving later today the deck as well as the video for the replay. And if you want to continue this discussion, of course, we will be able to talk about your own marketing case. So don't hesitate to contact us per email. We will be reminding you our email address on the very last slide. So for this webinar, Raphael Schwartz is my guest star. Raphael, if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Delphine, and welcome also from my side to all my friends and former marketing colleagues. Very excited to be here with you today and talk about marketing best practices for influencer marketing. Very happy to share my own knowledge from 15 years in the CPG industry, leading marketing teams at P&G, at Reckitt, at Mars, at Henkel, as well as from the last 8 years as managing director at Territory Influence, where we are connecting brands with influential people to deliver measurable business results. So very happy to present some of those best practice cases today.
Thank you, Raphael. And for those who do not know me, I'm in charge of international marketing at Territory Influence. So in Raphael's team, I've been working at the agency for over 7 years and currently sit in our Paris office. So I'm French, sorry for the accent in advance. So part of my role is to support small and big brands with strategic marketing consulting. So I'm very happy to be here today and to focus this session on practical tips for you. Actually, this webinar is a bit special. It's a special edition because it's the summary of M2M discussion across Europe, M2M meaning for us marketers to marketers. So it will be sharing the experience from our brand clients in different markets such as Germany, France, Italy, Hungary, and even the UK. So very broad and diverse. And really the objective for us is to guide you through the influencer marketing journey. So we have realized that 66% of marketers are planning to increase their marketing influencer budget. So it is very growing and more interesting for you. However, a big majority, 70%, are not sure yet how to get the best results from their social creators, from their partnerships and their campaigns. So today we are going to share and make you discover the secrets of the leading marketers and influencers across Europe based on 6 concrete case studies coming from different industries. So we will be going through beauty care, food and beverage, leisure toys, healthcare, and even home care consumer electronics. That being said, I will leave the micro to Raphael to kick off the very first best practice.
Yeah, let's jump right in. So the first best practice is that smart marketeers do not treat influencer marketing as a kind of promotional add-on, but really integrate it strategically into their media plans. Why is this so important? Well, let's look at last year's research findings from Kantar. Influencer marketing campaigns perform significantly better, both in terms of reach and in impact, if they are integrated to the media plan. And also, let's not forget that influencer marketing campaigns also need creative ideas that ideally should be aligned with your overall messaging. So don't expect your creators and influencers to do this, basic marketing job for you, but really help them with providing them also the creative concept and the central creative ideas. One of the companies that really integrates influencer marketing holistically into their marketing strategy is Beiersdorf, the company behind skincare power brands Nivea and Eucerin. In Hungary, they have activated different teams of nano and micro influencers at different points of the year to create awareness, leverage seasonal storytelling, generate targeted product experiences, but also create credible content and boost sales. By activating more than 4,000 influencers during 12 months through dedicated campaigns, but those that are really campaigns that are really built and based on each other and really are focused on specific times of the year, really paid off for Beiersdorf in Hungary, with more than 10,000 content pieces published online. with more than 4.5 million consumers impacted on social media, and nearly 500,000 reached offline through word-of-mouth recommendations. Delphine, if you can switch on to the next chart to show those results, thank you so much. And one of the things that they are doing even better in Germany at Beiersdorf is they've really integrated influencer marketing strategically into an annual plan through a dedicated ambassador platform. So they are basically activating their nano influencers and brand ambassadors 365 days a year to make sure they really maximize the outcome, create incredible content pieces online, and really activate and engage with their consumers, but also build up their CRM database and enrich their insights and first-party data points. So that's the first best practice we're happy to share today. And I'm passing back to Delphine for number 2.
Any tips regarding the ambassador program, Raphael, for Nivea für mich?
Yeah, sorry, I think there's a little bit of a time lag with the charts.
Ah, okay.
Kind of building on that idea of strategically integrating influencer marketing into the marketing programs, what Beiersdorf in Germany is doing is to really engage 360 days a year through their ambassador program, through the ambassador platform, and really create these powerful benefits for the brand that you see here on the left of this chart.
Thank you, Raphael. Let's indeed jump into the second best practices, that is play with the influencer pyramid to achieve your marketing goals in the most efficient way. And here really the advice will be, let's change influencer categories to really use the benefits and to actually complement the categories. So using strength and compensating maybe some weaknesses. For example, authenticity, commitment on one side and visibility, creativity on the other. So really having this complementary strategies using different categories. So in terms of definitions and categories, we do actually have our own at Territory Influence. So here you can see a categorization with 4 types that are very focused on audiences and number of followers. We do also take into account more criteria like values. If you haven't read about it yet, we did an ebook beginning of this year that you can have access on after the webinar actually. So that's another perspective, another way of categorizing influencers. Here, sticking to the audience base, the very classic categorization, we do start very low in this pyramid, starting with nano influencers, so up to 1,000, so 0 to 1,000 followers. They are the consumers who love to recommend products, services. They do it organically every day. It is like a habit. We do it actually all here in this virtual circle, I'm sure. They do it offline, they do it online, so offline with the peer-to-peer conversations, the classic word of mouth, and online through social media, but it can also be ratings and review on e-commerce platforms or discussions, chats on specific forums, so it's really diverse. Micro-influencers are more like the social media addicts. They are content creators, but as you can see, 1,000 to 100K followers, it's a very big range of audience, meaning that they are amateurs. So depending on the markets, up to 10, 20K, they are still unpaid. They are then very engaged. They produce super authentic content. They share, their opinions in a 300% sincere way. And then afterwards, you have more the professionals with contractual relationships. And here, of course, they are paid. That is maybe their daily job. So, of course, this hybrid category allows marketers and gives marketers different type of benefits. Then you have macro influencers, so the true professionals, they have over 100K followers on their social media accounts. They can be either like micros experts on one specific theme, or they can be lifestyle and talk about, their daily lives and anything that can happen on their daily life. They produce premium brand content, so we are getting closer to this media, approach of generating content. And then afterwards, you have star influencers, so celebrities that are actually very hard in terms of categorization because they can be famous thanks to social media. So in that case, of course, they might have millions of followers, they might be super exposed, have huge visibility. But if they were born on TV, for instance, I don't know, like they were the weather presenter or something like that, it might be that they are actually a micro or a macro in terms of number of followers. So this one is a bit more agile, a bit more hybrid in terms of categorization. So this is the full scope. We do deliver a territory influence. This is pretty representative to what's out there across Europe. And we do believe that, again, playing with complementaries, having synergy, so doing, for instance, nano plus micro or micro plus macro, or the full pyramid is beneficial and will help you achieve many different marketing objectives. So let's take a concrete case, an example with Café Royal. Café Royal, don't know if you know about it. It's a coffee brand, a pretty new one on the market, so launched in 2014 by the Swiss group Delica. We have supported actually on the French market their brand in terms of awareness, also market penetration, starting an influencer marketing collaboration with them in 2020. It was at the occasion of their product range launch called Honduras. So it's a line of coffee beans. They have a strong focus on the brand's commitment in Central America. So it's all about sustainability, like improving quality of life and working conditions for coffee farmers. Objective was to first in 2020 to tease and to generate consumer interest before the arrival of the new varieties, 3 in total. So we recruited to create some buzz, to do some noises on Instagram, 6 macro and star influencer. So we matched values, we matched interests, we made sure even though there were big macros, big stars from 200,000 to 3.6 million subscribers, they were still, engaged and having engaged community. This was very important to the brand and to the success of this campaign. So they generated premium content. They share their experience. For sure, visibility-wise, it was pretty impressive, and they also collected different feedback on Instagram. That is for sure for that brand very like a affinity platform with their target group. And after the launch, so 2021, when the products were on shelves, we came back and we focused our activation, so a 2-step activation, 2 offline online campaigns with unpaid influencer in that second case, so nano micros, on positioning, again, highlighting the sustainability factor and also the brand preference, because as you might know, coffee market is very competitive. So to make them stand out at a launch and post-launch growth phase, it was very critical and strategic for them to activate advocacy and true advocacy with super authentic conversations based on trials, so real life experiences, testings of the coffee, and of course, positive recommendations on every strategic touch points for the brand. So actually, Aline Violet, so our marketing manager at Café Royal Delica, was saying in this M2M webinar that for the brand, influencer marketing is their way to do a direct communication with their audience. So that's what they really appreciated. It's also an opportunity for them to go into the details in a very authentic way and in a very pedagogical way. So education also very key for them. Throughout the campaign, so she said that we took the time to cover different topics, and that's actually something few channels currently offer to brands, to advertisers. So such activations were super complementary to the brand communications plans as a whole. So again, coming back to the integration, this was very strategic and very complementary to traditional media like TV that they are activating a lot. You can see here, so Some major differences, major benefits from different categories. So again, on the paid professional side, you can see like all the premiumness, all like the mass reach visibility, of course, this image like associations going on, and of course, faster marketing impact, because recruiting 6%, having only like 6 posts is for sure faster than recruiting 6,700 unpaid and doing the whole activation, the whole education, the whole experience. So this was also very appreciated at the launch teaser phase, where we had to do something fast, quick, and efficient. 2021 unpaid profiles here, they enjoyed so the more engagement and authenticity factors, also large volume of UGC, sorry, being user-generated content, so content at scale, also diversification of touch points, not only online, but also offline, also some ratings and review for their e-shops, so broader type of activation. Offline conversations, as you will see in the next slide, is also enabling so sales impacts and the tracking of that offline activity, and of course feedback insights through greater surveys like questionnaires, more market research that we could have done on the unpaid world that we could not do for the paid world. So long story short, here are the key results. So for the paid influencer, we had over 1.4 million online reach, thanks to 5 newsfeed posts and 44 sequences of stories, and a huge engagement rate, 13.4%. Again, when you think back of the number of followers they had, that was really impressive. On average, macro stars can have, I don't know, 1.5, 2.5 something engagement rate on Instagram. So achieving that for the campaign on average was really impressive. For unpaid influencers, so 5.17 million online reach, huge number of posts, 8,000. Also, thanks to the trials, lots of conversations happening offline with 645K unique contacts being reached out physically through word of mouth. And finally, this measurement I was mentioning earlier, so the sales impact, the uplift with 3.7% in terms of volume, and resulting in a 5.44 euro ROI, so a positive profitability and positive impact as a whole for the whole campaign for Café Royal. Let's jump into best practice number 3.
Great. So number 3 builds on what you said about respecting different social media channels and target groups. So smart marketers really adapt their influencer briefing to the respective target audiences and to the social channels they want to use, or the influencers want to use. So here we can learn from Ravensburger. They've last year targeted 2 very different target groups. So one was Gen Z and young millennials, and the other one was families with kids. And doing so required us to look for basically very different influencer profiles that were active on different platforms. So we looked for content creators that were active on Facebook and Instagram for the family target groups, and more on creators on Instagram and on TikTok to engage with young millennials and Gen Z. So hence we had to develop 3 different briefings to really respect the specificities of these 3 different channels and of the content creators that are active on those, and really work together with the creators on very, very different creative content pieces to ensure that we remain authentic and we really leverage those particularities of the platforms. And the influencers and content creators really appreciated this kind of creative freedom to express themselves. You can see in the next chart a quote from one of the German influencers we involved, who was super happy that we really allowed and engaged with them and gave them that creative freedom to really express themselves, but also to engage in the best way with their audiences that they know so well. So doing that resulted really in also an outstanding campaign results with more than 25% engagement rate, which, as you know, and as Delphine also mentioned, is really amazing given the size of these influencers. And also it also resulted in measurable business impact for Ravensburger. So another best practice is where we can really learn from what Ravensburger has been doing here. Let's move to number 4.
And indeed, talking about measurement, so measuring the campaign metrics that truly matter are like is another best practice coming from actually Naturactive, so a Pierre Fabre Group brand. So here is another French case study. So a bit of a context for this brand. So they were transitioning from a reference to a preference brand, and that had three specific goals for that. So first, conveying the brand promise, increasing their visibility overall and emphasizing their strong USP. And finally, business-wise, boosting listings in parapharmacies and also, of course, boosting their product sales. So really their best practice, their experience sharing was you need to set up clear marketing objectives and you need to stick to those and to make sure you have the tracking in place, the measurement and the analysis in place to make sure your actions are on track. So this was very, very much the big tips that were given to us some months ago. So to achieve those marketing goals, what we did at Territory Influence was to put in place a two-step influencer marketing plan. So we started last year, 2021, with two campaigns, only unpaid profiles, so below 10K followers, again, on the French market, so nanos plus micros. And again, because reputation is key to the success, like we mentioned earlier with Raphael, we extended in 2022 the strategy with 4 new activations, so 6 in total, that will integrate this time micro professionals, so above 10K with contracts. So really having the mixture and again the synergies to achieve those different goals and have the short-term impact they were expecting. In terms of results, so together with the brand, so again, that's really the positive outcome according to me. So we were delivering, of course, the classic campaign KPIs, so the reach, the number of content on social media when it's focused on the online world, some claims, insights, feedback we could collect from influencers. But they were also doing the tracking parallelly on their own touch point. So this was very interesting. So they wanted to leverage on positive effects, positive halo. So they were checking like traffic generated on their Instagram page, which wasn't at all an objective, but was for them, something they were interested in, having this positive traffic, e-reputation effect. So we have very short term, like a week after, noticed already uplifts. So number of followers on Instagram, also requests on Google. So for the SEO aspect, they came from 0 to 3,000 requests on strategic keywords for the brand and also on their brand website, on their product pages. They saw spontaneous 120 reviews that weren't, again, like campaign objectives. They were really like positive halo, but again, coming to this visibility and reputation, very important to them. And final, so last but not least, the business was the third goal and the most important goals to them. So they were able to track, check contributions, analyze the whole marketing plan for this particular campaign. So this is focusing on Asani spray, which is one product in particular, one healthcare category of their whole Naturactive branch. And only for this SKU, they analyzed again very short term, big uplift in terms of sellout, so product sales plus 75%, also market shares growth and value distribution. So this 7.4 points actually equal a plus 1,000 pharmacies being listed during the activation phase. So again, very, very impressive. And the other tips coming from Naturactive and Pierre Fabre was to, of course, be agile in a way of tracking, measuring, analysis, and having our tracking evolving according to the priority evolution. So again, we have this two-step plan. So two campaigns in 2021 with an example I just gave you with some KPIs and results, but 2022 plan is changing, evolving a bit. So we are going to focus on higher reach, higher visibility with the additional micro-influencer and the professionals. It's going to be more product categories, so more diverse, like multi-typologies with niche target groups. So that will require more education. So this is another thing we can analyze in a stronger way. And online sales, so more traffic generated to the website and to their e-retailers, so using more, leak stinkers, so adapting as well the actions and the mechanisms to the new objectives and goals of the brand. And it's
Great.
yes.
So number 5, the fifth best practice we're happy to share today is to really leverage events and emotional storytelling to create more engaging influencer content. And one company that is doing this very well is P&G, where my friends at the communications department have really started to leverage every kind of PR event, every congress or fair where they are participating for influencer marketing. So as you can see here, they did this recently at the Mobile World Congress, where they also invited their influencers to Barcelona, as well as during last year's 100 years anniversary for Brown. And to celebrate the 100 years of Brown and the 100 years of great design, the brand even created exclusive backstage events with more than 1,000 influencers from all across Europe, where they participated online in a virtual event. And one of their brand experts, which is an actual design professor, explained during more than 60 minutes the entire history of the brand, its unique design philosophy, and provided rich background facts and storytelling for the influencers then to pick up and share with their followers online. The brand also involved more influencers than ever in this 100-year anniversary celebration and engaged them through a very simple but very powerful emotional question. And the question they asked them is, describe your very, very first contact with Brown. So this created very personal stories about the brand heritage and history and some of the most iconic products that Brown has produced. And the influencer really told about their experience that they had with the brand, or maybe even their parents or grandparents had. And it made their followers also think about their own personal experience and exposure to the brand, which they then also shared in thousands of comments on social media. The result? Well, another outstanding influencer marketing campaign with millions of consumers reached with very personal recommendations and very emotional storytelling that also resulted in a measurable brand uplift and a positive return on investment.
Thank you, Raphael. And final best practice for today, of course, there are thousands of best practices and tips, but those were for us the 6 that were the most strategic and important, coming from, again, the M2M discussions we had earlier this year and end of last year. So 6 is leverage on cross-activity opportunities coming from your influencer campaigns. So we have here the last concrete examples coming from Hire Care Plus product. So those are professional products for care, maintenance, protection of home and appliances. So we launched in Italy a campaign for them where the objective was to raise brand awareness and also organize consumer trials, so to create brand experiences offline to sort of spread the word on the different touch points, especially online. So synergies were made during the campaign, as you can see here. So we managed to boost some conversions, even though primary goal was awareness. We, thanks to the brand's reactivity, thanks to this agility, and thanks to the real-time tracking and opportunity identification we can do, we were able to do 2 extra things. We've set 750 nanos and 6 macro influencers. So for the nanos more, we drove them to Instagram. They were actually launching their brand account right in the middle in the campaign. So that was like perfect synergy to create, like, again, extra service to do to make the most out of this campaign. So we did some acquisition for them. And the second one more for the macros and the professionals and their higher visibility and traffic potential. We drove them to shop, actually, to the Amazon e-retailer platform. It was also happening during the Prime days. So we helped the brand boosting sales conversions through the sponsoring of best content. So really adding like the advertising chapter on top to really, again, amplify, reach, traffic, interactions, and then conversions on this e-retailer to boost sales. And as you can see here, this was actually pretty effective. So on the unpaid, so nano influencer side, We had plus 4,100 followers on their accounts, again, in a couple of weeks. And paid influencers. So we did had multiple clicks to the shops on the sticker links on Instagram and their stories. So almost 16K clicks. And their e-commerce key account at higher groups. So explain that this cross activity was a key drive their brand store. We brought the influencer on their brand store, and the number of visitors to the brand store during the 19 days post activity was actually 4 times higher than the same period last year. So they were really seeing significatively and very clearly the difference between 2021 and 2020 and 2021. So this was really crystal clear. It's almost time to close this webinar. It's been 30 minutes and we want to take some questions and to have some discussions with you to help you again, to guide you. Just wanted to thanks before the end, all the marketers who've been participated to this webinar series across Europe, sharing again their experiences, their tips, their regards on influencer marketing. You can see here some extra tips coming from, instance, the Pierre Fabre Group with Thibaut Marès, Natural Active Brand Director. Again, repeating this message of ask yourself about the impact, ask yourself about the purpose. You need to keep your actions on track, have priorities, set up clear objectives. That's very critical. Aline Vayeret from Café Royal also talking a lot about trust. So this creative wheel we have also seen with Raphael for the Ravensburger case that was also very, creativity oriented, that also expressed the success of that campaign. So this is also something she is strongly believing in and also advising you to do so. And another one from another industry, actually from fashion, from shoes. So a small brand that did an activation with us with micro influencers, and also here emphasizing the message of integrate influencer into your marketing plan, create synergies, amplify, boost the whole thing thanks to creators. In their case, in terms of sales, in terms of conversion, that was pretty effective. They multiplied by 2 or 3 the activated products that were staged on Instagram during the activation phase. So again, very happy clients, very strong results coming from the best practices of influencer marketing.
Great, thanks a lot, Delphine. I see we do have a couple of questions in the chat.
Perfect.
So maybe I'll start with the first one. Juliette has asked, how do we make sure to select the best profiles of influencers for the brand? So it really depends on the objectives, and it depends on your core, target group that you want to reach out to. So as Delphine explained, we at Territory Influence, we have the luxury to really work with any type of influencer across any type of social media channel, and also across online and offline. So depending on the objectives of the brand, we can really find the right profile. And then it's all about finding the right mix. So as we said, it's about also looking at the values, the shared values, making sure that the influencer really fits the DNA of the brand, that also the content quality is in line with what the brand expects, and then make sure that there's a really kind of a perfect match between the influencer and what they would like to talk about and what the brand would like to talk about.
Indeed, maybe we can here precise that we have also 2 sources of influencer to find the best profile. So we have trnd.com platforms for the unpaid influencer profiles, and we have InCircles for the database of professionals. So those are also, highly qualified platforms that enable us to select the best profiles for the campaign. We have a second question from Peter. Do you have best practices in service companies, non-tangible products like financials and insurances?
Yeah, we do actually have experience also running campaigns, both with unpaid nano and micro influencers, but also with paid macros and star influencers for financial services. Again, it depends a little bit about what exactly you want the influencers to do, or what's the storytelling you want to focus on. Because obviously there's not a kind of a real product experience here, so we need to find a way to create a credible storytelling that the influencers are happy to share. But we do have experience, so feel free to drop us an email and we can share some best practices from that financial service industry, or also from insurance companies.
Mhm. We actually had a related question from Ishika asking for the best way to leverage nano influencer for fintech products. Because she's saying the products are very niche and nano influencers usually become difficult to work with since they require a lot of hand holding. So any extra tips, Raphael, for fintech?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, then it might not be actually the right type of influencers to work with. If it's a really super niche product where you have to be an expert, then maybe actually working with a micro influencer who is an expert in that field is a better option. And indeed, I mean, but that's true for any type of influencer. You really have to provide the proper education. Whether that's a nano influencer or a macro influencer, it doesn't really matter. You want to make sure that the content creator really understands your services, really understands your USPs, and is therefore able to convincingly explain those to their followers, to their friends, whether that's offline or online.
Mhm. And another question from WTD. What kind of web tools do you use for influencer credibility, validation, and so on?
Very, very good question. So we do indeed have both proprietary tools, so we have technology that we use to also validate and vet our influencers. So we look at things like audience credibility. We look at where does the audience come from. We look at any suspicious developments, jump in audiences. We look at engagement rate, at click-through rate, whether that fits the activity of the influencers, and also the size of the audience, to make sure that we are working with people who are actually having predominantly real people as followers, and not use any bots or have any fake audiences. So there's both a mix of technology, but also at the end it's about again personal relationships. So we do have very, very long and very established personal relationships from our influencer relations experts, and they're in sometimes really weekly contact with those influencers, so they know them personally, and they make sure that they are trusted, next to also the technical side and all the technical checks we do. So there
Two
are a
more
lot of questions
questions.
coming in now.
Yes, that's great. So we have a question from Sam. Is there a checklist or something similar to determine if influencer marketing is suitable for a particular category or brand? So this one, I would say, I mean, it is very, very, very tailor-made, customized, very ad hoc. So very hard for us to, standardize the approach per category brand. I mean, it also depends on your marketing objective, budget. I mean, there are so many parameters. It is very hard to standardize. So I would say write us an email, quick email, and we can figure this out for you, for your brand, for your industry, and maybe for your objectives. I think this will be the easier. And that's actually what we do right on a daily basis with our clients. We do lots of consultancy because, again, it's a very complex marketing lever, and standardization is very complicated to do. It's a very human industry and lots of parameters. So of course there are some basic, let's say, principle, like if you have super brand safety, like luxury industry, the nanos without contracts and stuff might be, problematic. So you would go more up into the pyramid. So there are some basic tips we could provide, such as this one for certain industries. But generally speaking, there are so many parameters. We need to go through all of them and to ask you specific questions to understand the needs and deliver the best advice for this one. A question from Pablo. When selecting nano and micro influencer, do you just target influencer of your sector, or you also consider influencers from other sectors? Massive selection. In some cases, they target a huge amount of micros and nanos. Café Royal plus 6,000.
So it's more the question about where does those kind of micro and nano profiles come from, and here we have really the luxury territory influence to to have more than 5 million of these profiles registered with our databases, with our panels, in our apps. So we can really run really large scale campaigns with sometimes 10,000 or even 15,000 profiles at the same time, and make sure at the same time that they are all category users. They are ideally even brand lovers. They are experts in that category. But to do so, you have to have a big panel. I mean, you cannot recruit 5,000 people on the fly on Instagram. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. A question from Lota. If you are a global brand with global presence and with many brands, it seems to be challenging to find a global agency to consolidate that has local market awareness without in-housing the on-hand responsibility coordinating the different markets.
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's exactly what we are doing for some of our clients. We help them really on an international basis, which creates a lot of synergies, obviously, for the brand, because then they just need to brief, one contact person on our side. And then we create a dedicated, local briefings. We have local experts across 22 markets that are in contact with then the influencers. But it's a very streamlined operation, very streamlined, process that allows the brand to really focus on briefing one agency and not multiple different agencies in multiple countries, and at the same time we make sure that obviously then the influencers, they receive the same briefing, and then the content is also similar. It has the same look and feel. It follow every content piece follows the same logic. It follows the same strategy, the same guidelines. So that's really something where we can help as territory influence thanks to our international scope. And maybe the campaign example I shared with Brown is a good example of that, where we actually activated influencers across both North America, across Europe, and I think even down in Asia, to really make sure that the brand has a strong international campaign set up, but only one single point of contact and one briefing and one aligned process.
Another question from Sarah. How do you decide if you should do an influencer campaign on TikTok or Instagram if the target audience is on both platforms? Are there any advantages of either platform in influencer marketing? Anything to be cautious of? So here I would say, so why not doing both also? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not one or the other. If both make sense, if your target
No,
group is there,
exactly. In
this
fact,
might
there's
be a
very
complementary activation to do.
yeah, and there's very little overlap between those two platforms. So we can send you some data, but the overlap between TikTok and Instagram is not huge because the platforms are fundamentally different. I mean, they really follow a very, very different logic. Instagram is all about polished content that really creates a kind of a beautiful world. And TikTok is all about authenticity, creativity, craziness. So the audiences are quite different, and particularly the content style is super different. So indeed, I mean, if your target audience is on both, it makes a lot of sense to actually engage different content creators who produce tailor-made content for that particular platform. You cannot use TikTok content for Instagram, and you cannot use Instagram content for TikTok. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually the case we have presented earlier with Ravensburger. We did both TikTok and Instagram at the same time, adapting content briefing and outcome. So that's something we can easily do and find complementaries and do the proper planning phasing to make sense.
And that's also, but maybe to come back to your question about to be cautious of, I mean, that's what I would really be cautious of. Be cautious of trying to be smart and find one influencer who is active on both platforms. I would be very careful because typically it's very different profiles. And make sure you have dedicated resources for each one, a dedicated briefing for each one, like we explained in the best practice. There's tons of other tips we can talk about individually about how to kind of crack the code on TikTok, how to make advantage of the algorithm there. There's a lot to learn from how to be successful on TikTok specifically. So Sarah, feel free to reach out to me after the webinar. Very happy to share some more insights.
Mm-hmm. I think there will also be needed some specific consulting for Stephanie. Stephanie saying, as we are a big brand with many products, we work with many influencers. What can you recommend to handle these contacts to make some kind of transparency within the company, which products, which influencer, which conditions?
Yeah, that's a problem that I mean many of our clients address us with. Is like they have kind of Excel files with thousands of different contact details, and they try to combine then the results of different campaigns and make some sort of sense of it. We can help you here. Good news is definitely we can help you here. We do have a white label technology that would allow you basically to streamline all of your influencer activities in one platform. So you essentially get one hub where you can see what's going on, what are the influencers doing across countries, what's the result. You can start really benchmarking different influencers with each other and really kind of track them also over time to have better transparency, better visibility, and make better decisions. So that's where we can definitely help you through a software, through technology. And that would be the recommendation as well. A lot of clients, but you're not alone here, right? A lot of clients, I mean, have started with kind of an in-house, intern starting to do the first influencer campaigns with an Excel sheet. A lot of PR agencies are still working like that with macros and stars. I mean, they just have basically a small database of contacts that they use. But the issue is indeed, I mean, if you grow and if you want to use influencer marketing more strategically, it's just impossible to do it based on an Excel file. You need better technology to properly track what's going on and really document and create visibility for who are your best influencers, who do you want to continue to work with, who do you want to invest in, and also what's the result and is it worthwhile. So also in terms of return on investment, you want to make sure you have that visibility. Very good question.
Yes, we had lots of very good questions today. Very happy about this interaction. Raphael, I think it's time to say goodbye. 46, we were super on time today. So thanks again, a big thanks to everyone who participated. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your questions. I'm publishing a message on the chat. So if you want to have more information, more case studies, more testimonials, you can also visit our website and the resource section. And if you want to have personal advice, personal consulting with Raphael or myself, this will be with great pleasure. So don't hesitate to write us to us.
Drop us an email. Yeah.
helloinfluence@territory.group. You can reach us out after the webinar.
Very, very happy to continue the discussion. Thanks a lot, and looking forward to your emails.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon for another webinar, another ebook, another marketing piece of content. Have a nice day.
Take care. Bye.